Welcome back to Color Compare. We have a regular non-contrast, non-speed paint compare today, and this is a compare really for Death Guard Green. So bringing in Death Guard Green from Citadel means that we kind of have to look at Orruk Flesh, and the reason why is because I think these two look very similar on paper, though I don't think anyone's going to get confused looking at these in person. So let's take a look here and see kind of what we've got with this Death Guard Green and this Orruk Flesh. Right off, we see they're very similar colors, but the Death Guard Green is more of a muted version, and the Orruk Flesh is a brighter, maybe slightly more yellow version. So they definitely have a different vibe, and I would say are not interchangeable. If we want to kind of see like what is maybe an equivalent of this, especially in our army painter paints over here, well then we have some comparing to do. And we're going to start off with what I call the obvious choices, and that is we have Necrotic Flesh and Combat Fatigues. So let's go ahead and grab those two. Necrotic Flesh and Combat Fatigues. And I want to say Necrotic Flesh is kind of Army Painter's designed answer to Death Guard Green. It's a little bit more versatile. So first, it's definitely lighter. I don't think you're going to fool anyone that it's Death Guard Green, but as far as, hey, if I paint my whole Death Guard army with it, right, then I think you're going to be okay. The interesting thing, though, here is the Combat Fatigues is almost the same color. And I don't know that you necessarily get that from some of these labels. Like, these almost look like the same color, and these kind of are the same color, so those are pretty accurate. But I feel like sometimes the labels can be just a little bit deceiving, and I hope that Army Painter is working to improve that as they're doing this new trend to do the standardized color naming as well. So they're going to keep the stylized names, but have a standardized color name that's going to be like a there's a standard name for it, but it's like a light purple actually means something in this standard, for example. And I think there's some olive greens and some things like that that would come for these colors. But I don't know if these two colors would have different names under that convention or not. That's something I kind of want to see. Anyways, I think either's fine for your Death Guard if you want to go the Army Painter route. But I don't think you're quite getting exactly the color if you're a big stickler on it. Some maybe honorable mentions. Here's another good option, all right? Death Guard Green, you could use Army Green. All right, so let me pull up this Necrotic Flesh, though, here. Because we'll put Necrotic Flesh on the top, Army Green on the bottom. I think Death Guard Green is somewhere in between those two. So if you want to pick an Army Painter color, I would pick whichever way you want to go. Do you want to go a more green way or a more kind of muted green, more brownish? It's not really brown though, it's really light. You see, but those are different, directions on this Death Guard Green spectrum. Army Green is maybe a little bit too green for Death Guard, where I think the Necrotic Flesh, for me, would be the better choice. But, you do you. I think that's the key comparison of this video here with Death Guard Green is right there. Where do you want to be on that spectrum? All right, so Combat Fatigues, Necrotic Flesh, Army Green, all reasonable choices for that. Then we have a couple of other things, like the Scaly Hide. It's a little bit more of a mint color. See that kind of, almost a little bit of a dark minty color. I think what you're going to end up with here is almost making like a more of a zombie looking thing. And maybe for Death Guard, that's fine. Again, you do you. Let's grab Scaly Hide, though, with the rest of these just to kind of put them up next to each other. And then we'll move on to what I'm calling the brighter greens, and we'll pull in that Orruk Flesh. So there you go. Scaly Hide is somewhere in that spectrum of colors, especially those bottom three. It's the most green and kind of minty version of those. Definitely different colors, but also I'm not sure you'll need all of them unless you're painting vastly different armies. Okay, so that's really cool. The other thing we have is we have these on the brighter side. Now, I don't think we're going to pretend that these are like the Death Guard green, but since we brought in this Orruk Flesh, I feel like I had to grab them. And the Orruk Flesh is definitely kind of this muted olive tone that you're not quite getting from any of these bright greens. So just kind of to show you here, if you're thinking, oh, maybe I should grab the Zombicide set for that Soldier Green, I'd probably pass on that for this purpose. I think you'll be more at home with like a Commando Green or something like that. Let's move this Jungle Green out of the way. Commando Green could absolutely work for your Orruk Flesh. I think that's actually a really nice color. It's a little bit brighter, a little bit greener, but still fairly close, especially as we kind of change the light here. If you want to go more of a neon-y color, there's that Witch Brew. I think that's a really cool color. So Orruk Flesh and Witch Brew, that's just definitely a neat color. And then we have Jungle Green, which is just really bright. So if you want to go really bright, you can do Jungle Green. I don't think that's quite what we're looking for if we're pulling out Orruk Flesh. Let's grab Orruk Flesh against these other ones real quick just to kind of see, again, where we're at. If you want to go real cheap and you have an Orruk and a Death Guard army, I think you can grab this Army Green and use it for both. But you do see a key difference there. None of these other colors are quite as bright as it. It's definitely got that brighter feel to it. So we definitely have kind of two classes of colors in this way. But since some folks were asking about it, I figured I'd pull this all up into one video and really take a look. Alright, so the grand question that I like to answer in all of these videos is, if I owned none of this, what would I buy? If I am making a Death Guard army, I'm going to go for Army Green. I'm going to get the spray primer and the 100% color match paint. I'm going to do Army Green. And the reason why is this orc is sprayed with Death Guard Green. So this is this. Okay, so these are the same. Just to be clear. This is not all that different once you get it sprayed on, especially. You see, if we had this whole model sprayed, and I don't have the green spray, because I don't need it because I don't play Death Guard, but if I did, I'd definitely go for it. I think it would be similar enough. I am probably going to pass on the rest of these unless I need it for something. That Necrotic Flesh would definitely show up if I was doing like some kind of a zombie army, though, or some kind of maybe some Sigmar undead kind of stuff. Definitely get some Necrotic Flesh. Again, it has the 100% color match primer, so these two have the primer. Death Guard Green does have a primer, and clearly I own that primer because I primed my orcs in it. This was actually a primer that I just kind of happened to pick up because my local store was out of Wraithbone that day. And I said, well, I'm painting these Beast Snagas, and so, Death Guard Green is going to be just as good for priming them, though, if I had to do it again, I don't know if I would actually... Oh, I didn't do a very good job priming that guy, did I? Look at him from this side. I don't know if I'd actually get another can of that, personally, though it is a really nice spray, and it does leave all the detail, so you really can't say anything bad about the Citadel sprays other than their cost. So you will save a little bit of money with the Army Painter, and I think you'll get a more versatile spray going with this Army Green. Alright, what about the bright stuff here? I am loving this Witch Brew color. I think if you're doing anything like, the name implies, right, Witch Brew, if you're doing like, suspicious stew kind of stuff, what's bubbling in this cauldron, that's a great color. I really like this Jungle Green too, though. This is for like green lightsabers or something like that, or green energy weapons, or Necrons. Like, let's go, some Jungle Green, yes. I probably wouldn't pick up the Zombicide kit unless I'm actually doing like some serious Zombicide stuff with this Soldier Green. But I do put it in there just because it is a unique green, and I really wish that Army Painter had an equivalent color in their regular range. Would I grab the Commando Green for anything? If I was actually painting some Commandos, probably. But for me, for what I paint, well, you've heard my opinion in the video. I think that's where I'm kind of going with that. I think like stuff like big Beast Naga Orcs or that kind of stuff would be just fine. being primed in this army green. The only caveat there is if you are going to use speed paint, I would put it over like that Necrotic Flesh or like this Death Guard green, or even just use one of the new army painter, the cream and the gray, the what is it, Brain Matter beige and ash gray. Those are probably going to work better than this most of the time. But I do have a video where I've taken a guy, primed it a bunch of different primers, put the contrast and speed paint, or just speed paint over it, and this was actually a very surprisingly good result, especially with browns over it. So there you go. That is definitely an option. Hopefully I can get my hands on those new Army Painter primers soon. Alright, well, I'm starting to do tangents now, so I'm going to cut this video off. We're over 10 minutes anyways. If you got this far, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Take care. Let's get gaming.